Lesson
Tunggu. Baca nih Pak.
Lesson
Bukan.
Lesson
31.
It is shooting. My uncle is a camp sportsman. He often goes shooting during the weekend, and usually comes home with a bag full of beers. Last Sunday evening, he came home earlier than usual. He didn't say anything when I came in. I threw his bag on the table and sat by their fire. He looked tired and cross. Didn't you have a good day, dear? His wife asked. What do you think? He answered crossly and pointed at the bag. Look at this bag. There's only one bear in it, and it cost me a lot of money. Weren't there any bears? My aunt asked kindly.
Kindly. Yeah.
Hundreds of them. My aunt said, but I spent the day arguing with a farmer. What happened there? She asked. I shot my first beer at 5 o'clock this morning. Soon afterwards, I made it at another one and fired. But I don't know what happened. I think I slept because I didn't shoot the bear. I hit a call and
The bird.
The bird.
Ya, bukan bear. Janggo itu atau beruang.
I didn't shoot the bird. I hit a cow and killed it. The farmer when it got very angry with me. I argued with him for hours, and in the end, I had to pay him $50.
50 apa? 50 pound atau $50?
A pound.
Ya.
50 pound.
Ini matuan na Inggris banyak kali itu mulai buku 1 itu juga pound ya.
Lesson.
Perjelas saja.
Lesson 32. A quiet life.
A quiet life.
A quiet life. When Mr. Friends retired.
Mr. Finch mungkin atau
Mr. Finch.
Nggak ada R-nya toh?
Yeah.
Jangan dibaca friend. Teman itu Finch kalau
Mr. Finch.
Ya.
Retired. I bought a small couch in size field.
Small apa?
Apa nih? Cottage.
Coba dengar cottage. Ya. Kayak rumah-rumah pondok gitu. Cottage.
In a seaside village.
In a seaside
village.
Kasih gini supaya bisa dibaca. Mana Mi? Mana?
Ini the cottage.
Kenapa first ngebaca? The cottage
The cottage
was
was
built.
built in 1588,
Hmm.
but was in very good condition. Mr. Finch was looking for to acquire a life, but in the summer holidays, it got a shock. A shock.
Shock. Apa?
Shock.
He got a
He got a
shock.
shock. Hundreds of tourists came to the seaside fields. My friends, my Finch complex was the most interesting building in the fields, and many of the tourists it from morning till night. There were tourists outside the kudas. They kept looking through windows, and many of them even went into Mr. Finch's garden. This was too much for Mr. Finch. He declared to drive the unwelcome visitors away. So he put a notice in the window. The notice said, if you want your touristy come in and look round, price 10 pence. Mr. Finch was sure that the visitors would stop coming, but he was wrong. The number of visitors increased, and Mr. Finch spent every day chewing them around his goodness. I came here to retire, not to work as a guide.
As a guide.
As a guide,
Guide.
I complained. Son 33, money problems. My brother Henry has an excellent job at a bank. I couldn't believe him when he told me that he had decided to give it up. Thought I tired to make the change his mean. I followed completely. You should reconsider your decision. I said, you have already spent 5 years in the bank and you could have a wonderful career. You might become a bank manager by that time you're 35. I know. Henry answered, if God no compliance with the bank, it's a pleasant job in pleasant surroundings, and we keep shift hours. The bank manager told me that my profits were excellent. Then why do you want to leave? I exclaimed. It's the money, Harry said. But you're getting a good salary, I answered. I do not mean that, Harry said. What do I do at the bank? Well, at the moment, all I do is to earn money and find it very depressing. What's depressing about counting money? I asked. I only, I only to follow the logic of Henry's argument. You do not understand. Henry answered. I enjoy counting my own money, but I had counting other people's. Lesson 34, a Spanish holiday. When Ash returned to work last Monday, Bob asked him who had spent his holiday. You went to Spain, didn't you? Bob asked. That's right, Eric answered. There went in the sun, and now if he got a year's work ahead of me. Still, I must say I enjoyed it myself. I went swimming every day, and I even saw a billfoot. Did you? Bob said. Who, are, who was it? Very funny, really, I answered. If you never thought of a bullfrog being funny, but remarked. Well, this one was a let reply. The benefactor was a sore man. He arrived at the ring in a helicopter. The helicopter circuit round the ring a few times, and then the benefactor landed by parachute. He landed He landed almost in the middle of the ring, just a few yards away from the ball. The ball was dressed in a splendid costume. It must have been very impressive. Bob sighed. I suppose it. I suppose it was. Al answered. The trouble was that the poor man didn't know much about bullfighting. The ball went after him he even before he even managed to get his very hood off. He spent most of his time in the air. Lesson 35 and welcome visitor. The doorbell rang and Mrs. Carson opened the front door. Her heart sank when she saw Mrs. Brigby. Whenever Mrs. Brigby cared, called, she stayed for hours and hours. Good afternoon, Mrs. Carson, Mrs. Brigby said. I was just fishing and I thought I'd drop into the hullo. Who very thoughtful of you, Mrs. Carson replied. You come in, just as Mrs. Carson had feared. Mrs. Brigby stayed for several hours. It was nearly 6 o'clock, and Mr. Carson would be home from work soon. I couldn't stand Mrs. Brigby. Mrs. Carson kept wondering who she could persuade Mrs. Brigby to leave without offending her. Has your husband got home from work?
Husband atau husband?
Husband,
Ya,
has your husband got home from work yet? Mrs. Carson asked. Oh yes, Mrs. Brigby answered. He always gets home about 5 o'clock. It's nearly 6 o'clock. One, one, he be getting worried about you, Mrs. Carson said. I thought of that, Mrs. Briggy said, but it's so present here. We've had such a lovely afternoon. You know what I'll do? I'll ring up my husband. husband.
Husband.
Husband. I'll ring up my husband and tell him to come roll too. May I ask your phone, please? Sudah nggak?
Was no.
Iya.
Coba lesson 9 mulai lagi.
Bilang, Lesson 9. Early one morning. And Sunday, Peter.
On Sunday, bukan
On Sunday.
Sunday.
On Sunday, the father takes us for a drive into the country. We enjoy this very much.
Sudah, pelan-pelan saja. Lihat titik, lihat koma. Lihat tanda garis slash itu.
Last Sunday, it got up very early. We sat in the car and waited for father. At 6:30, mother and father were ready. Father sat behind the wheel and started the engine. The car didn't move. And that's funny. Our father said it was all right yesterday. I tried again, but the car didn't move. There isn't any petrol in the tank. My brother Jim said, "You're right, Jimmy," father answered. I go and get home petrol from the garage. Jim said, "It's 6:30. My mother said, "The garage is shut. The garage is shut. What shall we do?" I asked. "We can go back to bed and get up at 9 o'clock. Our father said. Our mother and father went back to bed. But Jamie and I stayed in the car. We're not going to sleep," he said. Suddenly, father knocked at the window of the car. "Wake up, children," he said. "It's 9 o'clock."
Knocked at the window of the car. Nggak dibacakannya. Father knocked at the window of the car.
Father win.
Orangnya knocked at the window of the car.
Knock that.
Ya, nggak dibacakannya itu. Suddenly, itu wake up children sebelum wake up children. Di bawah.
Oh, yeah. Father knocked at.
Coba baca.
Father knocked at the window of the car.
Ya.
Wake up, children, he said. It's 9 o'clock.
Ya, gitu.
Lesson 10. At the hotel, I want a room on the first floor. I said, "Certainly, sir." The hotel manager answered, "Have you a room with a private bedroom?" I asked. "Yes, sir," the hotel manager said. "Here are the keys to number 21. I took the keys.
I took the keys. Perjelas I-mu.
I took the keys.
Bukan keys saja.
I took the keys and my wife and I went upstairs.
My wife and I went upstairs.
Ulangi.
My wife and I. Satu kesatuan itu. My wife and I. And my wife and I.
My wife and
I.
And my wife and I.
Ya, berhenti ke sini.
Went upstairs.
Ya. I looked at. Ya.
We looked at the door of number 21 and went into the room. We shut the door.
He shut the door.
We shut the door and put our cases on the floor. Listen. My wife said, "There's a man in this room."
There's a man atau that's?
There's a man.
Ya, toh.
There's a man in this room is singing. "You're right," I said. "He's in the bathroom." I knocked that.
Ada kanya kan?
Yeah.
Bukan I know that.
I knocked that. The door of the bathroom. The sink stopped. Who is it? A voice said. This is our room. I answered. What are you doing here? Your room. The voice answered angrily. This is my room. Please go away. I'm taking a bath.
Ya.
I'll call the manager.
I'll call.
I'll call the manager. My wife said. Just then, the door opened and the manager came in. I'm very sorry, he said. I made a mistake. Your room is next door. Here are the keys to number
The keys, bukan case.
Here are the keys to number 22.
Oke.
Question 11. What's for dinner? What's for dinner? Tim asked. I'm going to fry some fish. But answered, I do not want any fish. Tim
Ulangi.
said, I do not want.
I do not atau I do not.
I do not.
Ya, bukan I do not. Kalau don't mean, dah maka tambah not-nya. I do not di situ kan.
I do not want any fish.
Any fish, perjelas. Huruf SH di situ, fish.
I do not want any fish.
Bahasa Inggris di ujung-ujungnya harus jelas. Jangan kok dikasih hilang-hilang gitu.
Tim said, I had a fish for lunch.
Ya, gitu.
We
for
can
lunch.
go to a restaurant this evening.
Ya,
And that's a good idea.
idea.
That's a good idea.
Ya, itu I di situ, idea.
A pet answered.
Bukan a pet, langsung pet answered.
Pet answered. Tim and a pet went to a
Pelan-pelan aja, team and pet, bukan
Team
team
and-
mana.
Tim and a pet.
Bukan team and a pet, team and pet.
Tim and a pet.
Nggak ada E-nya.
Tim and pet.
Ya, nama orang itu bisa saya bilang Musakkar. Ndayan atau?
Tim and pet went to a restaurant.
Ya.
They sat at a table and a waiter brought them a menu. I want some roast beef, Tim said. What do you want? Pet. I want a field scope. A pet said. I turned it to
I turned.
I turned to the waiter. One roast beef and a field scope, please.
And a field shop, please.
And a field chop, please. And we want some potatoes and fish. He said, I'm sorry, sir.
Pelan-pelan saja, he said, berhenti kok.
I'm
Lihat
sorry,
baca.
sir.
Ah.
The waiter said, we happen on the roast beef. And we happen on the field chops.
Ya, kayak gitu. Yang enak toh.
But they want the menu.
But there, nggak ada one di situ. But there on.
But they want the
Bukan one, on. Ji.
on.
Ulangi.
But they're on the menu, Tim said angrily. I'm sorry, sir. The waiter answered. That is today's menu. What do you suggest? What do you suggest? Tim asked. Well, sir, the waiter said, we have some nice fresh fish.
Ya, gitu. Sekali lagi. Ingat ya, huruf akhir harus jelas. Jangan terburu-buru selesai itu tanda baca miring itu mengajarkan kau untuk tidak terburu-buru dan benar-benar memperjelas. Kan belakang itu nabuang nih, dianggap mau lancar, toh? Nabuang itu yang garis-garis slash samping itu, toh? Oke. What's for lesson 11 dulu.
Lesson 11. What's for dinner?
Ikuti tanunya, tanda garis-garisnya.
What's for dinner?
Ya, tarik
Time
nafas.
asked.
Tim nama orang.
Tim asked. I'm going to fry some fish. But answered. Pat answered. I don't want any fish.
I don't want, ada apa itu?
Only fish.
Ulangi coba.
I don't want.
I do want atau I do not?
I want.
I want.
Or want.
Mana?
Want.
I don't want di situ. Mana don't-nya?
I don't know.
Bukan I do not. Don't di situ.
I don't. I don't want any fish.
Ya.
Tim said. I have fish for lunch. We can go to a restaurant this evening. That's a good idea.
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 Tulis di situ idea. Nggak pernah kepake benar di situ kuliah. Idea. Idea.
Idea.
Apa bacaan itu?
Idea. That's a good idea.
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 Perjelas A-nya di terakhir, bukan idea. That's a good idea.
That's a good idea.
Nah, A-nya harus jelas, gitu kan?
A pet answered.
Bukan a pet. Bukan a sakar.
A pet answered.
A pet lagi. Pet langsung aja. Pet answered.
Pet answered.
Ya.
Tim and Pat went to a restaurant. They sat at a table, and a waiter brought them a menu.
Ya, baru a menu.
I want some roast beef. Tim said, "What do you want, Pat?" I want a veal chop. I want a veal chop. Pat said.
Ada lagi E-nya.
Pat said.
Besok kepanggil kok sakar namanya kalau kasih begitu juga orang.
Pat said.
Ada pet lagi.
Pat said.
Ya.
Pat said. Tim turned to the waiter. One roast beef and a veal chop, a fish, and we want some potatoes and a fish. He said.
Fish? Nggak ada a piece.
And fish.
Ya, nggak ada E-nya. Kurangkan E-mu dulu.
He said, "I'm sorry, sir." The waiter said, "We happen on the roast beef, and we happen on the veal chops, but there was the menu." Tim said.
Mana one? Bukan one di situ. But they
on.
Ya, bedakan.
But
on.
they're on the menu.
Ya.
Tim said angrily. "I'm sorry, sir," the waiter answered. "That's yesterday's menu. What do you suggest?"
What do you suggest?
Suggest. What do you suggest? Tim asked. "Well, sir," the waiter said, "we have some nice fresh fish."
Oke. Lumayan nih, bagus. Terakhir tuh.
Lesson 12. A clever cat.
A clever cat.
A clever cat. It was 2 o'clock in the morning, and it is very dark. Mr. Thompson woke up his wife. He ran. He called softly. He called softly. The baby's crying.
Crying.
The baby's crying. Mrs. Thompson sat up in bed and listened. "That's not the baby, Jim," she said. "It's a cat." "It can't be." Her husband said. "I'll go."
Her husband said.
Her husband said, "I'll go and look." Mr. Thompson got up and went to the window. "You're right, Aaron," he said. "There's a cat in the garden. Listen to it." You must stop it, Jim," Mrs. Thompson said. "That cat will wake up the baby." "What can I do?" Mr. Thompson asked. "It's very cold. I'm not going to the garden." "Throw a saw at it," his wife suggested. "I can't do that," Mr. Thompson answered. "Why not?" his wife asked. "Can't you see it?" "I can see it very well," Mr. Thompson said, "but I can't throw a saw at it. It's sitting on my greenhouse."
Nah, bagus itu, lumayan gitu. masih lebih bagus dari ini, cara bacanya lebih bagus dari yang sebelumnya. Itu lagi Bu, terakhir. Masih ulangi lagi sekali. Lesson 13.
Lesson 12. A clever cat.
Ya. Atur irama napas ya. Ini membaca persoalan intonasi, tidak buru-buru dan intonasi dan pengucapan yang jelas ya.
It was 2 o'clock in the morning, and it was very dark. Mr. Sampson woke up his wife. Iran, he called softly. The baby's crying. Mrs. Sampson sat up in bed and listened. That's not the baby, Jim, she said. It's a cat. I can't be.
Bukan I di situ.
It can't be. Her husband said.
Bukan husband.
Husband.
Ya ulangi. It can't be, her husband said.
I can be.
Bukan I.
It can be. Her husband said.
Ya.
I'll go and look. Mr. Sampson.
Mr. Thompson.
Mr. Thompson.
Ya, jelas bukan Thompson. Thompson di situ.
Mr. Thompson got up and went to the window.
And went
to the window.
Yeah.
You're right, Iran, he said. There's a cat in the garden. Listen to it. You must stop it, Jim. Mrs. Thompson said. That a cat will wake up.
That will wake up.
That
bukan.
Cat.
Ya, that cat. Jangan terlalu panjang. That will wake up. Salah.
That cat will wake up the baby.
Ya.
What can I do? Mr. Sampson asked. It's very cold. I'm not going into the garden. Throw a shoe at it. His wife suggested.
Ya, suggested. Jangan takut. Kamu kelihatan takut di ujung. Nah, itu yang bisa membuat kau gagal.
His wife suggested.
Ya, harus berani di ujung.
Do that, Mr. Sampson answered. Why not? His wife asked. Can you see it? I can see it very well, Mr.
I can see it very well.
I can see it very well,
Yeah.
Mr. Thompson said. But I can't throw a shoe.
A shoe. Tulis Ki. SHU di situ, shoe. Yeah. But I can't
throw a shoe at it. It's sitting on my greenhouse.
Ambil Kang buku satu supaya aku latih yang terakhir. Ikutin ah. Sana lagi dikit dulu. Ya, di situ pas. Oke. Lesson berapa? 12 ya?
Iya.
Oke, lesson 12, a clever cat.
Lesson 12, a clever cat.
It was 2 o'clock in the morning.
It was 2 o'clock in the morning.
And it was very dark. Mr. Thompson woke up his wife.
Mr. Thompson woke up his wife.
Iran, he called softly.
The
baby's crying. Mrs. Thompson sat up in bed and listened.
Mrs. Thompson sat up in bed and listened.
That's not the baby, Jim. She said.
It's a cat.
It can't be. Her husband said. Her. Bukan here ya.
Her husband said.
Huruf E di situ.
Yeah.
I'll go and look. Mr. Thompson got up and went to the window. You're right, Iran, he said. There's a cat in the garden.
There's a cat in
There's a.
There's a cat in the garden.
Nah, jamungnya gini. There's a cat in the garden.
There's a cat in the garden.
S-nya didorong ke e. There's a.
Ya,
there's a cat in the garden.
There's a cat in the garden.
Listen to it.
Listen to it.
You must stop it, Jim.
You must stop it.
Jim.
You
must stop it, Jim.
You must stop it, Jim.
Mrs. Thompson said.
That
cat will wake up the baby.
That cat will wake up the baby.
Yeah. What can I do?
What can I do?
Mr. Thompson asked.
It's
very cold. I'm not going into the garden. Throw a shoe at it. At it boleh. Didorong sambung kan?
Yeah.
Atau at it atau at it. His wife suggested. I can't do that. Mr. Thompson answered. Why not? His wife asked. Can't you see it? Yeah. I can see it very well. Mr. Thompson said. But I can't throw a shoe at it. Yeah, at it. Ulangi dulu. But I can't throw a shoe at it. Yeah. It's sitting on my greenhouse.
It's sitting on my greenhouse.
Oke, ngerti ya? Sekali lagi saya baca, baru istirahat gitu. Lesson 12, a clever cat.
A clever cat.
Ya, relax lidahnya. Ingat penyebutannya harus clear. Clear itu jelas. It was 2 o'clock in the morning.
It was 2 o'clock in the morning.
And it was very dark. Mr. Thompson woke up his wife. Jangan buru-buru. Mr. Thompson woke up his wife.
Mr. Thompson woke up his wife.
Irene, he called softly.
The
baby's crying. Mrs. Thompson sat up in bed and listened. That's not the baby, Jim. She said. It's a cat. It can't be. Ya, kalau biasanya I di situ. Nah, ada huruf T, no?
Yeah.
Itu nggak mungkin katanya. Kalau bilang I can't be, saya nggak mungkin. Her husband said. Udah bagus, bukan her di situ kan? I'll go and look. Mr. Thompson got up. And went to the window. Dengarkan. And went to the window. Naik turun suaramu. Belajar kau temukan irama. Toh? Yang kau buru-buru membaca. Buru-buru itu banyak orang gagal. Banyak orang tabrakan gara-gara buru-buru. You're right, Irene. He said. There's a cat in the garden. Enak sekali kalau gitu kan? Listen to it. Enak menunya. Listen to it. Bisa naik turun.
Yeah.
Listen to it. Ulangi. Listen to it. Ya. Jangan listen to it. Berhenti di situ.
Yeah.
Ulangi coba.
Listen to it.
Ya, berhenti. You must stop it, Jim. Jangan.
You must
dibaca mi dulu sebelum. Jangan baru ketemu baru dibaca. Dibaca semua Ki.
Yeah.
Dilihat Ki. You must stop it, Jim. Ya. Mrs. Thompson said. Ya, dilihat gitu semua satu kalimat toh. That cat will wake up the baby. Dibaca Ki, jangan Ki diburu. Lihat baik-baik. That cat will wake up the baby.
The cat will wake
Ada
up.
lagi.
That
Cat.
cat. The cat.
Salah.
That cat will wake up the baby.
Ya, begitu maksud saya. Mana Mida?
That.
What can I do?
What can I do?
Naik karena bertanya kan?
Yeah.
Bukan what can I do. What can I do? Naik. Kalau bertanya naik pasti di ujungnya tuh.
Yeah.
Ulangi coba.
What can I do?
Ya gitu. Mr. Thompson asked.
Mr. Thompson asked.
Ya, turun lagi dia kan?
Yeah.
Karena setelah naik pasti turun,
Yeah.
ya kan? Terus mana gitu? It's very cold.
It's very cold.
I'm not going into the garden.
I'm not going into the garden.
Pelan-pelan, baca hurufnya.
I'm not going into the garden.
Ya, saya maunya kau begitu. Kau lebih lihat itu kata baru dibaca. Jangan mau dianggap cepat selesai. Nggak penting karena orang yang mau butuh kejelasan gitu. Throw a shoe at it.
Throw a shoe at it.
His wife suggested.
His wife suggested.
I can't do that.
I can't do that.
Mr. Thompson answered.
Mr. Thompson answered.
Why not? His wife asked.
Why not? His wife asked.
Turun Ki. Setelah tinggi kan, why not kan naik.
Why not?
His wife asked.
His wife asked.
Jadi nggak capek kok. Karena naik turun gitu kan. Can't you see it?
Can you see it?
Ada T-nya itu, bukan can you. Ya.
Can't you see it?
Turun Ki. Can't you see it?
Can't you see it?
Ya, ngerti? Lagi. Can't you see it?
Can't you see it?
Ya, kalau mau ke naik, dari turun ke dulu.
Yeah.
Toh?
Can you see it?
Ya, ngerti?
Yeah.
I can see it very well.
I can see it very well.
Mr. Thompson said.
Mr. Thompson said.
Ya, rata-rata kalau titik, mundur aja tekanannya, jangan dinaikkan.
Mr. Thompson said.
Ya, but I can't throw a shoe at it.
But I can't.
Badai. Bukan badai I. Dua kali I itu. But I, coba badai.
Badai.
Ya, but I can't.
But I can't throw a shoe.
Throw a shoe at it.
But I can't.
But I
can't.
Yeah,
throw a shoe
at it.
At it.
Okay. But I can't throw a shoe at it.
But I can't throw a shoe at it.
Yeah. It's sitting on my greenhouse.
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 Huruf S biasa, bukan it's syah.
It's sitting.
It's sitting.
It's sitting on my.
Nah, S-nya biasa normal. Sitting.
Sitting.
Ya.
It's sitting on my greenhouse.
Lebih relax lagi. It's sitting.
It's sitting on my greenhouse.
Sit.
It's.
Coba sitting.
Sitting.
Ya, gitu. Coba lagi coba.
It's sitting.
Gitu.
It's sitting on my greenhouse.
Ya, itu on harus dibaca on, bukan one.
It's sitting on my greenhouse.
Ya, paham nih?
Yeah.
Nah, itu aja. Sekarang kau lupa kelihatannya bahwa ketika hal-hal penting yang saya harus lakukan adalah irama. Irama itu kapan tinggi, kapan rendah. Kapan tinggi kalau bertanya. Kalau rata-rata, kalau itu titik itu menurun dia. Yeah. Menurun kemudian menanjak. Kau boleh menanjak di ujung, tapi ketika mau titik, tapi kamu sudah mengerti beberapa cara penekanan suara. Kalau masih di awal-awal, nikmati aja itu, turunkan saja. The baby's crying. Turun ya? Crying. Suggested. Turun kira? Yeah. Bukan suggested. Nah, suggested, naiki, setengah mati kok. Karena, gimana? Titik itu lain gitu ya.
Yeah.
Harus berhenti. Dan itu slash garis 1 itu kau berhenti sejenak. Kalau slash 2, garis miring 2 itu kau berhenti full. Itu gunanya itu. Nah, ketika itu kamu dapat, kamu tidak akan kesulitan membaca yang di bab berikutnya. Bab berikutnya kan Anda kasih itu. Iya. Bab berapa itu? Nah, ini bab lesson 24 nggak ada lagi. Nggak ada. Jadi maksudnya buku ini, kuasai baik-baik ini, ketika kau kuasai baik-baik, ketika kamu dan berpindah di bab yang selanjutnya, tidak perlu lagi dikasih tanda-tanda baca gitu.
Oh iya.
Kau lihat ketiga tahapan ini. Tahapan pertama diskusi-diskusi pendek.
Yeah.
Tahapan kedua dikasih perbaiki cara anumu itu. Dia mengurut itu anunya. Kemampuan kamu membaca tanda baca. Dan yang ketiga tidak dikasih mau ke tanda baca. Noh?
Yeah.
Nah, kasih tanda baca berarti dianggap maka bisa membaca seperti buku bagaimana pada umumnya. Gitu anunya bedanya. Enak ini buku tau kalau gitu tau. Bukan buku sembarang jadinya. Oke, ada pertanyaan? Enggak ada. Cukup? Is it enough? Atau masih mau lagi?
Cukup.
Cukup ya, thank you. See you next meeting. Happy study. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Oke, terima kasih.